Welcome back to another episode of Driven in Her Purpose. I'm Rosie Leonor, your host, and I'm so happy you can join me today. Today, we have another very special guest, Elisa Stancil. I'm going to let her introduce herself in just a moment here, but I did want to announce once again that my Facebook community group is now open to all of you who are interested. All you confident women in business and leaders who want to join into the group, please feel free. The link will be on the show notes. And also remember, you can grab your free gift, the 31 proverbial affirmations and insights for women leaders and entrepreneurs from the wisest book in the Bible, Proverbs. All right, ladies, well, let's get to it. Elisa, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here today.
I am so happy to have you with me. Very, very happy. So Elisa, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, here I am. Here we all are. At this moment, I'm 72 years old and very, very lucky to be well and able to write, dream, hike, enjoy life. My world is on a mountain, Sonoma Mountain, which was threatened by fire almost 5 years ago, a tremendously huge fire event, a firestorm that changed my perspective on what I was going to do with the remainder of my life. You know how you will begin in a world where you think, as you grow, that at some point you're going to be where you are supposed to be. You're going to be where you're supposed to be. And of course, now at about 65 or 70, I had gotten to this point where I had everything that I dreamed of having. Okay, well, that's wonderful. But at the same time, the question then is, what will you do with the rest of your time? And it wasn't until just very recently with this fire event when I realized that I had focused so much on nature and the joy of nature and the safety and the freedom of nature. I had somehow totally avoided embracing human nature. So my entrepreneurial world, all the things that I've done, which we may or may not cover, those were transactional to some degree. There wasn't the same connection that I had with nature because I had never developed the trust to connect with humans. So this fire came and I rushed down the mountain with my husband, and I realized much later that I had not stopped to alert a single neighbor. When facing that sad fact, I realized that I really had so little space in my heart for others. I mean, it was all transactional. So there's a lot of work to do. And I'm like, okay, well, good. Maybe I have 20 years left, right, on the planet. And I can now explore the beauty and the depth and the grace of human nature, and it might probably take me 20 years to get there, right? So I'm excited about what I'm going to be doing. And as far as what I had done, yes, I have a wonderful business. I'm hugely successful. My son has taken on the business and my granddaughter works there as well. It's a 3-generation business now. And we've worked all over the world, mainly in the United States, for doing design, pattern and design and color. It's really a glorified painting company because we do decorative painting, which is also known as faux finishing, but we don't call it that because that sounds sad. It's not false finishing. It's not fake finishing.
Yeah.
It's historic specialty. So that's what we do. And we've won awards and all that kind of thing. But, we've worked with amazing people and done amazing things. But again, like I said, I intuit, I give my heart and soul to it, and then I run away because I feel nature is safe and people not so safe. So here today, we are trying to talk happily about the power of nature and the power of witnessing without judgment others and what you see around you, and gaining, intuitive knowledge and direction from signs that you find. And I know you'll ask me questions, but I will have to say the signs that I have always relied upon have been from nature. So I will be probably talking about that a little bit. And the second issue for me that I want to let people know about is, yes, I wrote this book based on what nature forced me to see through this fire.
Mm-hmm.
And also it covers how nature gave me solace and helped save me from trauma as a very young child.
Mm-hmm.
So it sort of covers all of that.
And thank you, because I read the first chapter of your book, and it is really captivating, your story, and just what, like, you pretty much you go straight for it, being vulnerable and real. Also, like, the experiences in your life have helped form you into the beautiful being that you are, and the things that you can share with other women and others out there. So many of us can relate and will relate to you to some degree or another, for sure. So thank you so much for being so real and vulnerable in your book. And I definitely love to talk a little bit more about your book. And I know that you mentioned harnessing nature, and I'm a huge nature lover, as I told you right before we started the recording. I'm here outside. You may hear the cars, going in and out, because I am in Massachusetts right now visiting family. And so we're doing this recording while I'm here on vacation. And behind me, you'll see like some forestry, and there's a river right behind. So this is so perfect. It's like it was meant to be. This recording was meant to be, because Elisa will tell us all about how she harnesses nature as her greatest guide, and how you can, and to living your most joyful and fulfilling life. So if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit more about that, and also just a little more, maybe more about your book and some of the things that you share with us in that book.
Yes, well, I love that you mentioned a river, because I lived adjacent to a river for many years of my early life, and that was where I got all these such great guidance. For one, I mean, I know you've heard that quote, you can never step in the same river twice, or maybe you haven't, but that means that you say it's the river, you see it's the river, but it's ever changing. So you've never really seen the river. You'll only see these currents that are passing by. And it's the same with life itself. You can make a judgment about life itself, love, or any other thing. And it's a moment in that reality. It's not the entire truth of that. But let's say it's not all that's true about love, like I'll never find it, or I'll always have it. Neither of these things are necessarily true, right? Mm-hmm. So in this river analogy, I would sit and watch the water pass by, and I saw that the current seemed to be always changing, and I was maybe 8, and I said to myself, okay, this is it. I used to talk to God, so I'd say, okay, God, look, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch the river and see if I can see the current repeat even one time. Now, good part of that whole summer, I would sit by there and watch, and it would never did it repeat, not even once. Like a snowflake, like you and me, like everything you see, everything is unique, right? Yeah. And including these little currents. So this is just like a facet of life that is such an amazing thing that you can spring from that little idea to all things. And this is how you begin to get this glory, right? And gratitude for the beauty of life. So that's just one thing. I mean, another day I'm sitting down by the river, and it's warm, and all the rocks that are there have been pushed there from the winter storms. Mm-hmm. So there's these rocks, but they're all round. They're all round. There are different sizes and different shapes and colors, but they're all smooth and round. And I'm like, wow, why are these round? And when I was probably maybe 5.5 or 6, I was with my father, and he said, we were fishing, and we were out in the middle of the river. And he said, listen, do you hear that sound? I'm like, what sound? He said, and he said, no, listen for it. It sounds like an engine running or some kind of rumbling. So I listened, and I realized I did hear this other secret sound. And he said, you know what that is? And I said, no. He said, those are the rocks tumbling under the current down the creek and down the river. And it's echoing off these canyon walls. And that's why all these rocks are round, because they go tumbling and tumbling and tumbling under the water before you can see it, beneath the water. until they become small enough to be washed away. So now I realize that everywhere that I'm looking and sitting and seeing are rocks from somewhere else that were brought just from the season before, and they won't be there the next season. And someday they will be sand. Okay. So all this big, deep philosophical stuff is going on for me at 8 or 5, whatever. And that was one of the purposes of writing the book, is for people to understand that little children know so much. They hear, they see, they think, they feel. And so if by someone reading my book, they get a new awareness or a deeper awareness of what's going on in their little being that's their child, right? This will be a beautiful thing. It'll be healing and good. So that
Wow.
was, yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful. And I never really saw it that way. The river, I mean, when you say it, I'm like, that does make sense. It doesn't seem like it will ever be the same. And then when you talk about the rocks and the sand and all that, I'm like, that is so true. And all of us are truly made so uniquely. Our stories are so unique and beautiful, and not always, like, obviously not always happy, but they're so unique and just one of a kind. And I truly believe that, we all are made to make a mark and an impact in this world, using that. And so that analogy with the river, I love that. And I don't know why, you and I guess we have that in common, but there's some kind of connection, right, that we have with nature. For me, personally, it's hearing the wind. Right now, I'm literally listening to the wind against the trees. And yesterday, literally, as I was telling this happened yesterday, as we were standing right down here, under the trees, and it was more windy, so the trees were like bustling and dancing and making this noise.
Right.
And I said, to my husband, I said, wow, I was just, and I had like a few moments alone because he went upstairs with our toddler. So I had like maybe a few minutes, and I just listened, and I said, could this be how the trees sing to God? Right? I mean, could this be their song? What's our song? What's the river song? What's, like, everything just is so connected. And I think that's why I've always, I feel connected to it, and to nature. And so I love that. I love your analogy about the river.
Thank you. Yeah, in that first chapter of the book, I do mention that my very first awareness of being on the planet, I couldn't even talk yet. But when I noticed that I was moving my little feet and my feet were in my shoes, and I recognized my shoes and I saw my feet going, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is me, and I'm moving on the earth, right? Or whatever words I would have used without words. And I looked up, and I was like ready to share this with the world. Here I am. Then I realized, oh, I can't talk. And then I saw the trees, like you said, they're dancing, and the wind was blowing them just in this fancy little dance. And then these birds flew. And to me, it was just like everybody's saying, hello, and it was just like this resounding feeling of being in the right place at the right time on the earth. And
Yes.
so grateful, and that was my first thought. So from that little image all through my life, I knew that I just felt myself to be blessed, right?
Yes.
And that was
Wow.
good.
That's
So,
wonderful. In fact, you said being grateful. There's a quote in the book. It says, gratitude, like a prayer, might serve as an installation to protect us from the fear, the flames, the unknown. There's something about that quote that just like went, oh my goodness. So can you tell us a little bit more about that quote and why you put it in the book and what it means for you?
as we're driving down the mountain in midnight, in the midst of this firestorm, I thought, because of my whole world is in crises. If there's a crisis, or any kind of a stringent situation, I have a clipboard and I make a list of what I'm going to do. So in the car, I have a clipboard as we're running down the mountain, and I had written, patience and resilience. And because I thought, what do we need to get through this? Whatever is coming, what do I need? So I wrote down patience and resilience. And then I noted that I'm just making this list because it's a habit, let us look at deeper, this is the moment. So I said to my husband, no matter what comes, we will always have what we had. We will always have had what we had. it will never go away.
Mm.
And I want you to know I love you, and I am so happy I have everything I've ever wanted. We are leaving it back there behind.
Mm. Wow.
And then we'll always have it, as you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
So this
Wow.
just this kind of resolved any kind of grasping hold, and allowed me to just be thinking, look how lucky I am, really.
Yeah.
Look how lucky I am.
Yeah.
And it will and that's just how I try to go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. Because, we can't control the circumstances, right, that happen, whether an unfortunate fire that starts, who knows why. There's some different reasons. And unfortunately, there's reasons that we can control. And unfortunately, there's people who don't, right, don't respect nature and unfortunately do that. Or there's other things that happen, like I live in Miami, and so in Florida especially, you'll see hurricanes. So you
Yes.
can't control what happens in a hurricane. I couldn't control that it broke down our fence and it ruined some of the stuff in the house. Nothing really bad, but some things on the exterior. But I couldn't control that. But what could I say? Is just go, okay, well, you know what, gratitude, right? I'm grateful that nothing happened to us, that
Exactly.
there's still a roof over our heads, that, so it is so true. The things we can't control, we just can't control, but we can control how we look at it. And gratitude, I think, is one of, and patience, you mentioned patience, resilient. The whole book is about resilience, but just you making that choice to be resilient, making that choice to say, all right, this bad thing
Yeah,
happened, but pushing forward, you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in crisis, we have behaviors, and then we have these other behaviors that, I mean, you probably remember being little and thinking of how you're going to like keep your spell or perfect all through the whole year, right? You're not
Yeah.
going to draw all over it this year. It's going to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you're going to be that girl, right? And if you want to be that girl, and by like let's say the third week, but for sure by the third month, that plan is out the window, right?
Yeah.
So despite our good intentions and our deep plans and even our lessons from the year before and the year before, we
Mhm.
may have behaviors that don't support our vision, right?
Yeah.
And we probably will, because we're
Mhm.
human.
Yeah.
And this is the readjustment and the realignment and the realizations that are, key. And as I just swear that we're so lucky to be women, because we can share with other women what we're going through. I think it's more accessible to discuss and feel what works for you, and
Mhm.
empathize with others and gain knowledge from others who have good ideas for the challenges that we would face.
Yeah.
That's why I like this idea of this podcast. It's really great.
Awesome. Thank you, Elisa. I appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about unlocking your intuition and leading with unwavering confidence by tapping into your essence. I love that. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? How can we do that?
There's two things that I found out so far. I mean, there's many others, but there's two things I found out so far. One, reaching out for help and hope is really huge, and affirmations are amazing, which I love. And all kinds of forms of prayer are like an affirmation.
Mhm.
And yet at the same time, I soon started to wonder, is there a prayer that I need to say inside myself that will
Mhm.
help me, that is not coming from outside, in combination with the guidance I'm asking for? What can I do interior for my own self? And I made up my own little affirmation. And so I trust myself to take good care of me. So that's a simple little thing, but this means, for example, if you love taking baths, you have some little bit of oil beside the bath that you just put a few drops in, and this will make you know that you are loved, right?
Mhm.
If you love tea in the morning or coffee, if you pick out your favorite cup the night before and you set it there, especially in times of deep stress, put your favorite cup by your full teapot, right, before you go to sleep. And I mean, if you're really stressed, I will think you'll recognize, you get up in the morning and you see the cup, you go, oh, look, look what I did for myself. I'm
Yes,
so lucky,
I
right?
love that.
And
Yes.
this is just a beautiful little tiny thing because it's all a symbol and a sign that you need love and you're accepting that fact that you will receive it. It will open you up. And in terms of finding your essence and looking for guidance, this again just loops back to the nature thing. When I'm doing pattern design or color work or something, and I hit a really snag, and it seems almost impossible that I have to combine two things in order to make something this or that. And these are houses for millionaires and billionaires, and they're just occasional homes, thousands of square feet that might be, it's just hard sometimes to really put your heart and soul into something that's going to be, it seems so, I don't know, so materialistic. But in fact, my hope was always, as a healer, that I was bringing peace and joy to the person in those spaces. And if they are, in fact, deciding things for 50 or 100,000 employees, then they will feel more attuned to their true self and they will do good things. This is how I try to make it work. Well, in this whole process of my business, I would get, of course, stuck, just like anyone. It could be, no matter what the business is, you can get stuck. And if I would go on a hike, which is my main thing, or go on a run, I would just ask for guidance. And then I would just all of a sudden, like there comes, I see a leaf, and the leaf is split right down the center, two really totally opposite colors. It would be like black and white, so it's two things together. And I would grab this leaf and I go, oh, I don't have to do one or the other. I can have both things together. Look at this leaf is telling me, just do that. Or I'll see a tree and it's all shaggy on one side and all smooth on the other, like a big redwood tree and I'll say, oh, and I remember this crazy country western song, let the rough side drag, let the smooth side show. And I'm like, oh, okay, so that it's okay. Everybody has a rough side.
Yeah.
Just let the smooth side show and just proceed. I get these answers, right? And I don't even know what the question is. So this is the beauty of looking for essence, because there's secret answers everywhere. And then I have one little fun thing, and I'm sure maybe some of your listeners do that, but I look for heart-shaped rocks because I love them. I used to collect them, but I have so many now. It's just ridiculous. So I put them, like if there's a mossy tree, I'll put the heart-shaped rock in the center of the moss for somebody else to find it, right? When I'm out on the hike.
That's cool.
And so, yeah, so we have collected all these heart-shaped rocks, and we know that when we die, we're going to be cremated. We're spreading the ashes down by our creek.
Right.
And then anybody that comes to any of this can pick some heart-shaped rock from our collection, and they will keep that, and then all these other heart-shaped rocks are going to go down to the creek, right? And someday, maybe, somebody will be down there and they'll go, wow, look at all these heart-shaped rocks, right?
Wow.
It's just an idea.
I love that idea.
Yeah. So these are just, I like to play, and I'm a creative, so I'm a maker. So I'm trying to make sense of all these things. And so these are some of the little keys that I use. I don't know if they'll be helpful to your clients and friends and listeners, but this is how I do.
I love it. This is beautiful. I'm just like, I can really sense, I don't know if you ladies that are listening can sense this. Truly, Elisa has this sort of essence within her that just yells out like, I'm in tune with nature. I'm in tune with all that is the universe. And it's just so, to me, I feel it. I feel that. I feel it coming from you. And I feel that, I think so many times we women, we don't remember, no matter what our spirituality, what our beliefs are, we forget that in reality, what we are within us, we are a creation that is beautiful, perfectly, wonderfully made, is one of my favorite Psalms. And we are truly special beings. And not to be biased for women, but I think women, we have this intuition for the most part, and I'm not going to be too general here, but I think for the most part, we have an intuition that is given to us within our creation, and we have to trust that. We know so much. We can probably like predict certain things, especially like with people we love, like with our kids, or we're like, I don't know if that's, and so we have this, we have to learn to really trust that instinct. So much of that has been made within us. And we do need to learn how to listen and tap into that. Because that's why I love when I say the essence of our being, who we are, is something so much more than what people see. And it's made up of not just how we were born, but also all the experiences and stories that are created, right? And intertwined within us as we grow up, whatever our circumstances were. And so no matter what, we can tap into that essence and listen to that. You have this beautiful idea, right? Of when your time comes, all of our times will come, right? You'll have your ashes, you and your husband, your ashes in that beautiful space, and in hopes that, right, people will find these rocks and will be like, oh my goodness, look at this. And it's sort of like you'll live on and on and on within this earth, right? And it's just your legacy, and your heart will be there. And so I love the way you explain that. To me, it just really touches my heart and my soul so much. And I really look forward to continuing reading this book and just hearing more of your story, because I think it's just beautiful. And what the message you're trying to convey, as I see it so far. And ladies, if you get an opportunity, please check out the book. We're going to ask Elisa how we can connect with her as well. So speaking of that, how can women connect with you, and how can they find and purchase your book?
Well, the book is on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and everywhere, so that's easy. You just need to know the title, which is This or Something Better, and it's a memoir of resilience. Mm-hmm. So then my author name is Elisa Stancil Levine, Levine. Mm-hmm. And that's my married name, because my husband is Jewish and I converted. Anyway, so I also have a course under that same name. I have Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram all the time, anytime. You can see me there and talk to me there. And then I have a website, which is elisastancillevine.com. And you will see other essays and even little essays of all kinds of other kinds of things that you might like that have been published in magazines and literary journals and that kind of thing as well. Because I'm basically writing now and doing volunteer work and being a grandmother. So awesome. That's what I'm doing.
That's great. That's great. Awesome. Thank you, Elisa. So Elisa, if you wouldn't mind, would you share with us, first of all, what's one of your favorite motivational quotes? And then after that, what's one of your favorite Bible verses?
Yes. Okay, so this is a quote from a wonderful, really strong Black woman poet, Audre Lorde. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. I love that.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, she's amazing. Okay, and then my Bible quote. Is that what you want next, or do you?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jeremiah, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and future.
Beautiful. I love that one.
It's beautiful.
That's a beautiful verse. Thank you so much for sharing that. Elisa, it was so great to have you here on the show, and just to hear more about you and your book, and just learning a little bit more about, who you are. I know that there's so much more than we can cover on this podcast, but I think reading the book will help us a lot. So thank you. Thank
I
you
would
so much.
invite you to read it. I really think there's a lot there. And I am really thrilled to have spoken with you today and looked at your beautiful trees behind you.
Yes, this is great. I think I would love to make a permanent office that looks like this. That would be amazing. I love this. All right, Elisa. Well, thank you again for being on the show. And ladies, I'll see you in the next one.